What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop MLB DFS conversation starts right now, taking all the way up to first pitch tonight on a Wednesday night, an 11-gamer. So it's a big boy slate for sure. It is the return of producer Steve. Shout out to producer Steve. Welcome him back in the chat. He was missed. Shout out to TJ, who filled in spectacularly, as well as Tasteful Tides. Tim did an excellent job producing on the weekends. But yeah, we have producer Steve back. I see the people in the chat are asking. Speaking of chat, hit that like button and do subscribe. And yeah, feel free to turn on those notifications as well, so you know when we go live. Also, we will drop the Kevin Roth, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, the weather report in chat, which is it's definitely something to monitor because we currently have the Mets and Baltimore in the orange. Everything else looks pretty clean. Likely to play a dry 9, if you will. But yeah, we currently have an orange situation in Baltimore with producer Steve's Mets. It's myself, Kyle Murray. Kyle, happy Wednesday. How are things? Everything all right?
Yep, hanging in there. Looking forward to talking some baseball with you. That's for sure. I think the heat is getting crazy, so it's always nice to hunker down on the AC and throw some bets in, make some lineups. So it'll be fun.
What are we talking about in I can pull it up. It says 77 in Detroit. I know you're not exactly in Detroit, but I think you're in the outskirts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. Today's actually not too bad, but yeah, right now it's 80 because we had some pretty nice thunderstorms that came through. Actually, it pushed the Tigers game back. I think it was supposed to be a 1:00 start, and they pushed it back to 5, which is like a really weird MLB starting time. But yeah, so that's kind of keeping things a little bit more cool here, but still super humid. Prefer to stay in the AC, that's for sure.
It is in the 90s here in South Florida, but that's not surprising. What's it like being a Tigers fan? Are we excited? Are we optimistic? Are we waiting for the other shoe to drop? Like, something bad's going to happen, right? This isn't how things work out for us normally.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think if we didn't have the run last year, maybe it would feel a little bit more fluky. But I mean, the team is just so good top to bottom, and like honestly, I think that they can even get better if they get some of their bullpen arms to round back into form. Like that bullpen was the best bullpen or top 5 bullpen in baseball last year, and they have like a lot of the same guys. So, and they added a couple guys who like Canley's been good this year as well. So, I don't know, man. Like they have a really deep team. Like they're sending guys down who we've been lucky to have, like, you know, Justin Henry Malloy on the team last year. Like he just doesn't have a spot up here right now. Like, so yeah, I think it's getting less fluky the more we see them perform. And obviously they have a couple of obviously they have Skubal, a couple of Riley Green, I think is an MVP candidate, obviously a long shot there with Aaron Judge holding that down, but a lot of really good, you know, all-star type players right now.
They're 14 games up on Kansas City and Minnesota. Man, that's I don't want to say it's a wrap, but it kind of feels like a wrap already past the halfway point. All-Stars, Skubal, Green, anybody else? How many All-Stars you guys have for the best record in baseball?
Hey, we got Javi Baez starting in center field. What did I try to tell you earlier, Dean? Yeah, he's a starting center fielder, which he's like one of the only players along with like Pete Rose and one other guy that I'm blanking on, but to start an All-Star game at 3 different positions. So back in his Cubs days, he started at shortstop and second base for the All-Star game. And I mean, he hasn't played center field in like a month since Parker Meadows returned, and Matt Vierling returned, but he's going to be starting in center field for the All-Star game, which is pretty cool.
I did besmirch Javi Baez for the Braves for some reason popped in my head back in the day, catcher. But yeah, I did besmirch, but I took the L. I took my L on that one.
You did.
Good for Javi Baez for having a turnaround this season, and I'm rooting for Detroit for sure. Hopefully they make a run come playoff time. Best record in baseball. All right, 11-gamer. Detroit not in our slate for what it's worth. They're playing Tampa during the day. Like you said, the time was shifted, but still not on our slate. By the Marlins, speaking of, I was thinking of Tampa, 11 straight wins in the road. That's kind of outrageous, right? You know, it's I saw that their Twitter account, you know, they've been on this run since before the Panthers went back to back. There was some other since before OKC, you know, the Thunder took down the championship. 11 wins,
wow,
on the road, and they're going for win number 12 tonight in Cincinnati. Abbott versus the Marlins. Abbott, one of the better pitchers this season in baseball, but it's a regression candidate for sure. I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that. You know, we're talking big picture as far as a slate tonight. Some huge totals. Boston is now a six run total here. They're facing a righty, so you're a little bit less concerned as far as the pinch hit nonsense. Not a lot of pinch hit, not a lot of lefties in that Colorado bullpen. Boston did get Yoshida back. Yoshida, we have not seen him play. Has he played all season? I feel like he hasn't played baseball this year at all. I want to say he's DHing tonight for the Red Sox. They're starting a slew of lefties, so maybe if a lefty comes in, I meant to check that, but last I checked, Colorado might have one, possibly two lefties in their bullpen, a six total. This ballpark here in Sacramento, we talked about this last night. The Athletics, I want to say, put up 9 in the first couple innings or so, just kind of coasted. We did get a scratch from Ronald Acuna. Not sure of his availability tonight. That's definitely something to monitor. One of the bigger studs on the board got a late scratch last evening. We're still projecting him to start, but we'll see. Both those teams have a team total above 5, despite Atlanta being underwhelming seemingly every single time out. The Yankees are starting a rookie who looks pretty good. I got to say this name slowly. Schlittler? Cam. But he looks like a pretty decent prospect, pretty good stats there in the minors. And he's 7K, so I guess he's reasonable to be in your pool. Do want to mention again, the Mets and Baltimore, that game looks kind of dicey right now. Roth has it as a straight orange. Let me see what it says. Yeah, heavy rain clears around first pitch. Light, lingering rain sticks around until maybe 10. Most of this rain, I think they would be able to play through if they were able to. They were already playing and it moved in, but it's less common to see teams actually start in the light rain. So maybe if they don't start, some pretty heavy postponed risk. Obviously, Roth jumps on in an hour or so, and he'll give you guys some clarity, some more information coming in on that. But curious to get your screenshots as far as this slate. And I don't know if I buried the lead or if it is the lead, but ownership wise, pitching wise, we're going to see a ton of Lucas Giolito, who's been in spectacular form of late, and he's taking on the I don't know, what's like a gross adjective, putrid. What's a nice way, or how do we describe Colorado? The offense, is putrid good for you? Is that too kind?
I think putrid's pretty good. I think if you're trying to be nice, I mean, I was thinking horrific, pathetic,
dreadful.
Lackluster might be like a little of a polite term.
You're rounding up if you say lackluster.
Yeah, for sure.
It almost implies they can do it. They tried a little harder.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the players are actually trying. I don't know if the organization's actually trying. I think the players are trying, but this is just the best they can do. So taking a peek at ownership, we're seeing almost 40% on Giolito, on DK, where you're rostering 2 pitchers of 22. And in the single entry stuff, I like to focus on, it's going to be, I don't know, 60, 70, 75, 80%. And I know Dave heard about this. He'll be on later. Cheese is good, as well as beer and cheese. I think I'm just going to suck it up and play Giolito. I don't know. But it's just any other team, maybe. But you tell me. How are you seeing the overview? We'll talk about pitchers individually. If it's a part of your screenshot, a part of your overview, please, by all means, talk about your stance on Giolito. But overall, how are you seeing this slate?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a really good option tonight. I mean, obviously, it's a bummer because he is a guy who, as good as he's been recently, we've seen volatility from Giolito his whole career, but we've even seen it at times this season. So, we know that that's sort of in there, which is not great when you're talking to a guy who's going to be 40% owned at least, and I'm sure he'll even be higher in some of the smaller field stuff. So that's always a tough pill to swallow. But I mean, this Rockies lineup, I do think the Rockies actually have some decent players, but the lineup that they're rolling out now, they're missing 2 of their. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, Mickey Moniak's been one of their best hitters this season, and then Hunter Goodman as well. Yeah, both of those guys have been pretty good. Neither of them are in the lineup, so you're just rolling out you have a bad team that's rolling out a lineup that isn't even at their full strength. So that obviously that kind of points all signs to positives for Giolito. I guess if you wanted to make a case against him and you were looking to fade him, he is more of a strikeout pitcher against lefties. So you have, I think, 4 lefties or switch hitters in this lineup, or maybe even only 3. Yeah, only 3 actually. So if that's a spot where you're looking to maybe say, okay, maybe his upside's capped a little bit because he's going to be facing more righties and only striking out 18% of righties this year, 24% of lefties. And I think that there are some guys in this price range that you can make a pivot to, but I do still think he's probably the best option between safety and upside. And I think I think that brings it even more into play is like one of the guys that I do like, actually liked him quite a bit today, David Peterson. He's got a literal storm cloud over his situation. So that's another issue there with the potential of like trying to fade Giolito, and obviously on DraftKings playing two pitchers. So yeah, I think Giolito is fine for the chalk. Obviously, like if you wanted to be a little bit more aggressive and try to get some leverage, there's plenty of options. You don't need to play Giolito. There are definitely guys. There's several guys here who can match his upside, even in a really good matchup for him against Colorado. But he does have a nice combination of safety and upside tonight in this matchup.
Yeah, so look at Steve. Steve right back in midseason form. I just pulled it up as well. They're talking about it in chat. Roth given the retweet here, according to one of the beats in Baltimore, awaiting word in Baltimore, but there is in a sense of optimism among Mets officials tonight that the game will be played. So, yeah, I was in on picking on Baltimore as well because they are really dramatic as far as versus lefties and versus righties. And I know Dave wrote about this as well. It's just a sea of red. It's just dreadful as far as his team versus left-handers.
Yeah.
So 100 ISO is their current projected lineup. On the whole, nobody even a hint of green. It's so terrible how bad they've been versus lefties this year. But it's looking like that game's probably going to go away. It's probably going to go to bed, according to the beats, and that's what Roth is retweeting as well. And I suppose that could change, but Roth was already on it. Orange is a pretty scary color, so I assume that's going to go bye-bye, just the way the beats are suggesting. But stay tuned. Yeah, Roth just actually updated it, and he gave it a red orange, not a straight red, but a red orange, which he's essentially saying he thinks that a postpone is on layaway. I'll drop the updated article here in chat. Yellow green in Cincinnati, green in Boston, yellow green for the Yankees. Everything else is earlier that we don't really care about so much. Give me just a little tease as far as we'll talk tiers later as far as our favorite stacks, but give me a little tease as far as your take overall as far as offense tonight.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the chalk offenses, I do think a lot of them, look pretty good. One of my favorite teams tonight was the Mets, so that's another team being taken off the board. But I think there's also a couple pitchers that I think you can maybe find that are getting a little bit of ownership that you could potentially pick on a little bit. But overall, like we're gonna have Boston be very popular. I think that they're a very good option. Obviously, you have that Sacramento game that you mentioned. I think both of the offenses in that game look pretty solid as well. Obviously, the very, very friendly ballpark combined with the weather out there usually leads to a pretty good hitting environment. We saw, I think it was 4-5 home runs from the A's. And then I think Nick Allen also hit one for the Braves last night. So,
that is the line. If Nick Allen can hit a homer, your ballpark's too small. It's probably too small.
Yeah, definitely. Lawrence Butler had the inside the park home run, which was it was one of the craziest bounces I've ever seen in like off the wall. Like the wall was like slanted towards center field, and the ball somehow ricocheted back towards right. Like whoever was playing center field, I wasn't looking all that closely. That guy definitely got a stern talking to.
It wasn't Michael Harris, and Michael Harris probably would have done a much better job if he was out there. But they don't start in versus lefties sometimes.
Yeah, so I'm blanking on who that was, but
Eli White, does he play center field?
It might have been Eli White, yeah. So he was like just jogging to the ball, and I was like, oh, that's a tough look for that guy. I mean, would have ricocheted far enough away where it didn't matter, but yeah. So that was definitely an interesting look there on the home run outlook for that ballpark is obviously very positive. But there's a couple pitchers like that I don't mind picking on that are getting a little bit of ownership. Like I'm looking at probably 2 or 3 guys here who are double-digit ownership that I think you could potentially pick on a little bit if you wanted to get some leverage, because at the end of the day, like it's not a course field slate. I think obviously Boston's going to be very popular. I think that Atlanta and A's game will be pretty popular. I think the Yankees might have some ownership, but in terms of the rest, like there's not any like clear-cut super strong or super popular stacking options. So I think you can get a little bit unique here tonight, which is a slate that I typically like.
Lawrence Butler, he hit that homer on the very first pitch of the game, and it wasn't the best inside the Parker of the night. I don't know if you caught what happened in San Fran. Patrick Bailey, catcher Patrick Bailey, and you know that it's kind of a triples alley out there in San Fran. If you hit the right center field wall at the right spot, there was 2 guys on. They were down 2 in the bottom of the 9th. I think it was 2 outs as well. and he hit a walk-off 3-run homer. And I want to say it's the first time that's happened in like 90 years where a catcher hit a walk-off inside the Parker. It was awesome. Like, that is the coolest bounce in San Fran. Like it's got to be super annoying. And the left fielder should know the situation. He came all the way over to back up, and once the ball went past him and flew down the left field line, it's over. But that was an incredible play, just a spectacular play, and just I can imagine being in the ballpark for that one. But some fireworks. There was a grand slam off of Hader that was like 330 feet. The goofy Crawford boxes. It would have been a home run only in that ballpark, the only ballpark that would have went out in. I think it was Aniel. I'm forgetting his last name for
Martinez?
Cleveland. Yeah, that's who it was. Who hit a grand slam off of Hader. But yeah, fun out of baseball last night. Let's go ahead and dig in more as far as some pitchers. And again, we're talking about Giolito 40%. Beyond that, we're seeing Cease taking on Arizona at 25%. I think I just saw Naylor is either not in the lineup or not projected. Okay, it's Carroll, Marte, Perdomo, Suarez, Gurriel, McCarthy. English? Who's English? Do you know who English is? A person playing first base for the Diamondbacks. Should I know who English is? Do you know English? McCann and Thomas. I don't know who English is.
Must be a recent call up because I don't think I've seen. We don't even have him like available in Plate IQ, so I'm assuming he's probably a new call up.
Tristan English, 2K in the pool for what it's worth. Curious if he's a bit of a prospect. We'll dig into that in a second. By the way, as I was suspecting, Colorado only one lefty in their bullpen, Ryan Rollison. He threw 33 pitches on Saturday, 28 pitches on Monday, and everybody else in that bullpen is right-handed. So, I mean, it's possible he jumps in there and throws an inning tonight, but I just think the pinch hit stuff is a little bit subdued because we're talking about a very specific scenario. Kirk Dees is telling us that game is postponed, by the way. So, as Ross suspected, as the beat suspected, we lost the Mets and Baltimore. I wouldn't think that Kirk would be trolling the show. Yeah, officially called. So we're down to 10. We're down to 10 games. Everything else should be good to go. Your official Giolito stand is what? Are we eating the Giolito chalk just because this Colorado team, like you said, it's not as dreadful, but their best hitters aren't even playing tonight. Hunter Goodman, and by default, if you want to say, he's actually been pretty good. Moniak out of the lineup. So, Colorado running out Freeman, Beck, McMahon, Toglia, a lot of strikeouts. Dude, is that 49%? Is that right? 43%. 195 at-bats, Kyle, and 43% strikeouts. That is a big boy number. Ooh. Doyle, Arcia, Fernandez, Farmer, Austin Nola doing the catching. That's a big downgrade, by the way, from Goodman. That's a pretty massive downgrade. I think I'm just playing Giolito. I hate it, but I think I am.
Yeah, especially because, again, like I was pretty high on Peterson as like a pivot option. And I think even before that news, like Giolito and Peterson was probably going to be a pretty popular combination. So, I mean, now you can make two arguments where, okay, there's less options to pivot to. So, like Giolito is just going to be, that guy in that range. But also he's probably going to get a lot more ownership now. I think people are just going to say, okay, go into Giolito. So, I mean, you could argue that 21% projected ownership that we had on Peterson, half, maybe more, is going to Giolito. So he's going to be more popular, but also like there's less options in that range. So it is probably chalk that I'm going to eat. But if people wanted to get different there, I don't hate it. Again, I still think there are guys in this range that, and maybe even a little cheaper, that could compete with his upside. But yeah, I do think he's a pretty safe option tonight.
I see Kirkwood hanging out in the chat saying Giolito is awesome. I mean, he's been awesome of late. The K's are not spectacular. They're fine. He's probably going to get the win, assuming he sticks around and throws 5 innings. You got to think that Boston's probably going to put up some runs for him. Been on a good run of late. His last 5 games, he's really good. He's put up a couple negatives, like before this last 5 game run. He put up a negative 13 versus the Angels. I feel like I remember that night. Negative against Atlanta, a negative against Texas. And he's kind of up and down, and he will give up the homers on occasion. But again, he's been better of late. By the way, I did just pull up this Tristan English character. Looks like he's a 28-year-old rookie who's never played in the majors.
Yeah,
if
that's
I'm
what I
seeing
saw
this
too.
correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good for him. I'm always happy to, grinding away. Good for him to finally get the call up. As far as I can tell, he's never played in the majors. A little bit of power. He's shown some power there in the minors, but also he's playing against guys that are, 6, 7 years younger than him in some cases. Yeah, so you mentioned the ownership stuff is going to get shuffled around. I'm assuming we're going to take a little bit of time, but 40% is conservative for Giolito, and that's going to
Yeah.
jump to like 60% and
Yeah, probably.
85% in single entry stuff. Ugh. But maybe you just play him, and I think I'm just going to play him because all the factors we're kind of talking about. Sandy Alcantara is still really cheap. He's facing a tough ballpark there in Cincinnati. I don't really love that offense. Bubic is just pretty expensive, but he's facing a terrible Pittsburgh Pirate team. No Cruz today. I think Cruz is out, right? He's out left on left today. It is still weird. Just let the guy. Oh, no, he's in there. He's in there. Never mind. That was the other day. Pham, McCutchen, Reynolds, Gonzalez, Cruz, Hayes, Bart, Triolo, and IKF. Can he pay off that salary for $10K? How much do we need the salary? How much is the salary a squeeze tonight? How do you feel about Bubic?
Yeah, Bubic I don't mind. Obviously, he's had a little bit of up and down starts over his last 4 or 5 starts, and like we kind of saw that ceiling that he showed over that month stretch in May and early June where he was just so electric. But I mean, he still has good underlying numbers. Like even though he hasn't necessarily racked up like great DFS finishes, like he still has some good underlying numbers. The matchup is one that is good. Like when you look at the team as a whole, Pirates aren't really a team that's going to like overwhelm you with power. And obviously, when you put O'Neal Cruz in there, that's going to be a pretty good strikeout potential against a lefty. 34% strikeout rate against lefty since the start of last year. So 39% this year. So I think it's a pretty good matchup for Bubic. I think that if you wanted to get different and build around a lineup without Giolito, that could be probably a good place to start. Just because I think most people are going to be in that cheaper mid-tier sort of range, like that 8 to 9.5 range in terms of where a lot of the ownership is going to fall. So I do think Bubic will get you a pretty good amount of leverage. So yeah, I think Bubic is definitely growing on me now. I like him more now that Peterson's off the board. So yeah, he's definitely going to get an upgrade in my book.
That's how I feel too. Like it's a negative ballpark shift for Pittsburgh. That doesn't happen very often, and they're terrible as is. And this Kansas City ballpark, at least last time I checked, according to Savant, as far as homer, capability, it's the worst ballpark to hit home runs on the season. You just feel like, unless he gets BABIP, which certainly can happen, but I feel pretty good about Bubic. On the season, he's giving up .52 homers. He's a ground ball guy. He's been certainly lucky homer in the fly ball, but in part because of the ballpark. 6.2% homer to fly ball. It's probably not going to sustain. But I don't know if the Pirates are the team that all of a sudden that anoints the regression monster. The regression monster probably still asleep. He's sleeping in Kansas City tonight. Maybe he'll come back another day. But when the Pirates are in town, he's just hit the snooze button for sure. What about Mackenzie Gore? He's certainly flashed some upside this season. Not as much of late, but to start the season, he was electric. One of the best pitchers in all of baseball. You still got to pay for him. How do you feel about Mackenzie Gore tonight?
Yeah, Gore, I mean, he's obviously shown some good strikeout numbers here. Matchup against the Cardinals is one that is better when you're a left-handed pitcher from a strikeout perspective. You just have a few guys who kind of see their strikeout rates really rise against lefties. I think the best thing about Gore is that you can almost certainly count on him working deep into games. He's thrown over 100 pitches in 3 straight games. 95 plus pitches in every game since May 29th, other than one game. So he's gonna be work deep into the game, which is good because a lot of these strikeouts, these high strikeout guys, are at the bottom of the order. So that's pretty important.
You want to get him a third time?
100%. Yeah. So I think that's gonna work in his favor for sure. So again, I think Gore is pretty similar to Bubic, right? Where I think they're the spend up that'll get you a little bit different. I do think Bubic has a little bit better of a strikeout matchup, so I probably prefer him slightly. But Gore is the better strikeout pitcher, so I don't mind feeling either way or leaning either way. But for what it's worth, Bubic has 6.5 strikeout prop tonight. Mackenzie Gore 5.5. So I probably give the slight edge to Bubic there. But I do think they're pretty similar profiles in terms of like the reasons to play them.
Is there anything significant as far as the juice there? Basically, those are pretty much I'm pulling it up as well. I'm taking a peek. Is that the biggest number on the board? Gore at 6.5. Bubic 6.5. I think it is, right?
Yeah, Giolito's also at
Cease.
6.5. Like right around plus money or right around even money for Giolito. Bubic is at even money as well. So Bubic actually has better implied strikeout projection from Vegas, I suppose. Gore's at minus 110 at 5.5. So
To your point on Gore, by the way, there's only two pitchers in baseball. There's only two pitchers in baseball that average more pitches thrown per start. Gore averages 98.6. Do you want to guess who 1 and 2 are? One is
um,
probably going to be a Cy Young winner, possibly.
like
It's
this
not
year,
Screwball. Yeah, it's
Zach
not
Wheeler.
Screwball. Zach Wheeler is 1.
Yeah. The next is a really weird name.
No,
It's
no,
a,
it's
it's a,
actually no, it's a legit good pitcher. On
is it Dylan Cease?
It is not Cease. Not throwing baseballs tonight. Kirk Dees is familiar with this pitcher.
Uh, is it a Boston guy? Is it
It is
Giolito?
a. It's not
No, you said not
Giolito.
tonight.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher on Boston. Now you can kind of knock some. There's only so many of those.
Yeah.
Free
Well,
agent pickup, or they trade for him. Did they trade for him, or was it a free agent pickup?
is it Walker Buehler?
No, it's Garrett Crochet.
Oh, Crochet. Yeah, obviously. Because you said good, and then I was thinking Walker Buehler, and I was like, he can't be Buehler. He's not good. But yeah, that makes sense. That adds up.
The Walker
Where's Cease
Buehler
on that
signing.
list?
Where's who?
Dylan Cease. He's got to be up there, right?
Let me see.
He throws.
He is 15. He's 15.
Wow.
95 pitches per start. Wheeler, Crochet, Gore, Webb, Severino, Freed, Kikuchi, Rodon, Skeens, Bybee. That's your first 10.
I will say from like a recent split, Cease 103, 93, 110, 101, 103.
Love it. Yeah.
So he's also working. He's got a long leash right now, it seems.
We did get an update as far as ownership projection stuff? I know we got an update as far as actual players. Let's see if our ownership did come through. 519. Does that include? Let's see. I want to see if we got something different when it comes to the pitching stuff, which is really, I don't know. The ownership for the hitters, I don't really dig in too much for the most part on a big slate. I don't, unless it's like something like, a 7 total in cores, and then I'm kind of concerned about it. But
yeah, ownership's probably not updated yet because if ownership's ever before the most recent projection update, it's probably not fully updated yet.
Okay.
Little life hack for anybody who watches those timestamps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You do this. So, obviously you're not doing it in the show. You're not working double duty, but you know how that stuff works. So, keeping an eye on what happens there as far as ownership. I saw some names being thrown out there in the chat. I don't know if this pitcher is any good, but if you look at Cleveland versus lefties, Brandon Walters had a few good starts, a few bad starts. Cleveland versus lefties, I was looking at this the other day. Collectively, they're kind of like the worst hitter in baseball versus lefties. It's so bad. Their ISO is 86. 86, Kyle. And I did this the other day, and I could pull up again, see if anything changed. But amongst qualified hitters, not every hitter qualifies, but I think there's only 4 hitters or so that have an ISO less than 86. In general, not specific against lefties, but just in general. But the point is they're so terrible against lefties. It is literally J-Ram and a bunch of dudes. If you look at Plate IQ, J-Ram the only guy in the green. We do have an ex-Woba in the positive for Angel Martinez. But otherwise, it's terrible. I guess the question is Brandon Walter good? Does it matter if he's good if he's a lefty throwing against Cleveland?
Well, I will say Cleveland just sucks against everybody. They're the most. They might be the most underwhelming offense in baseball. Obviously, that kind of goes to expectations for this team, and a team that had a deep run last year. They've just been so bad. They scored 10 runs yesterday. That is more runs than they scored in the month of July combined. They went on an 8-game stretch where they lost 8 games in a row, scored 6 or 7 total runs. So yeah, they're just a very, very bad offense right now. Obviously, they did, put together some runs last night. But to your point, they had a grand slam on a ball that would have been a home run in just that ballpark. So that's also worth noting. So a little bit of luck factor there. But yeah, they're pretty bad. And Walter, No, I don't think he's a great pitcher. I don't think he's like this guy who is going to really blow people away. But he's actually had pretty good numbers. I actually have I have Fangraphs open right now, and I just got an ad blowing in my ear, so that was a little bit of a distraction there.
Kyle,
But
you got to spend the $50 for the year. Come on,
I had
subscribe, support Fangraphs. They do good work.
I'm actually logged out right now, so all I have to do is sign in, and then I'll be good to go. But I will say, so when you look at a lot of the underlying numbers for Walter that kind of back up what we've seen, he's actually a little over 4 ERA. He has a sub 4 Sierra, sub 3 xFIP. Like, he has some really good numbers. The strikeout numbers aren't all that great. Seems to be more of a pitch to contact type guy, but 23% strikeout rate against righties. I think that is more than fine. He should see just one lefty tonight. So yeah, Walter is definitely a guy that I like for sure tonight. And that if that 4.5 prop doesn't have too much juice on it, that might be a prop that I'm going to take a look at.
Under, you're talking about, right? Oh, strikeouts. Thought about. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I was thinking of runs. Strikeouts.
Yeah. So it's minus 115 on DraftKings. It's probably going to be a bet that I'm going to take a good hard look at soon.
Write it up on Scores and Odds while you're on the show if you can multitask. We do have the official. Oh, you know what? We have a little bit better iteration. It's I misspoke. It's a 94 ISO collectively. So Quan, Martinez, J Ram, Santana, Fry, Jonathan Rodriguez, Will Wilson, Austin Hedges, and Rocchio. Rocchio got homered off Brown last night. Tough scene for Hunter Brown last night. So 94 collective ISO, Kyle. Here are the players in baseball that qualifying hitters that have a 95 ISO or less. Starting with, but just if you don't know anything else, just know that Jonathan India has a higher ISO at 95. You know how terrible he is for power. Horner 94, Ozzie Albies. What happened to Ozzie Albies? He's just dreadful now. 92 ISO. J.P. Crawford, Victor Scott, Bryce Terang, Rengifo, Brian Hayes, and Xavier Edwards. That is how bad the power is in this Cleveland lineup today. It's not good. I think Walter should be in your large pool, if nothing else. How many lineups do you expected on playing tonight?
I'm doing 3 on each site.
Okay. So do you think you possibly would get the Walter if you're making 3 lineups? Is that something you might get to if necessary?
Yeah, he's probably gonna he'll probably make one of the lineups, especially on DraftKings.
SP2,
because there's for sure gonna be a lineup where I fade Giolito, and that'll probably be a good chance at being a Walter lineup. But there are a couple cheap guys that we haven't talked about too much yet that I think are also in play.
Talk about them.
Well, I'm looking at both of these guys here in the Seattle and New York game. Logan Evans and Mr. Cam Schlittler. Both guys profiled to at least be guys that I bet both of their overs on strikeout props, so I think it's at least a spot where I'm higher on them than the public or the market. But when you look at Schlittler, he's making his debut. A guy who put up pretty solid numbers in the minors, posted 13.2 K per 9 in AAA this season and a 35.7% strikeout rate. He gets a really good matchup. Well, I shouldn't say a really good matchup. He gets a risk-reward matchup against a Seattle team that, yes, has a lot of power. Pretty much top to bottom. I mean, J.P. Crawford, not too much, and then Williamson and Young at the bottom of the lineup. No power there, but obviously 2 through 7, you got a good amount of power to contend with, but also a lot of strikeouts. Since the start of last year against right-handed pitching, 24.5 combined strikeout rate. You got 8 guys in the lineup with a strikeout rate above 23%. So it's a pretty good strikeout matchup. I do think you have to worry about guy making his debut potentially getting lit up a little bit. But if he is able to work around the power, I think there's a lot of strikeout upside. And then Logan Evans on the other side, same sort of deal, right? He's a guy who I think from what we've seen so far, I think have 7 or 8 games under our belt now with him. He's been able to work pretty deep into games. He's pitched no fewer than 5 innings in all of these appearances, has given up some runs at times. We haven't seen a ton of strikeout upside, but I do think that from what we've seen, based on his swinging straight CSW number and then minor league numbers, I think that this 17.4% strikeout rate is going to be a number that comes up at the end of the day. And there's plenty of strikeouts in this Yankees lineup. I mean, we've seen it endlessly over the past, month or so. Yes, there's a lot of power as well that he'll, again, have to contend with, so it's a very risk-reward type option. But, I mean, you got Dominguez, Judge, Stanton, Chisholm, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, all 26% strikeout rates or higher against righties since the start of the season. And then you have Peraza, who's at 24%, 23.5%. So a lot of strikeouts in this lineup for Logan Evans. So again, both guys I took the overs on. I actually ran a little mini ladder on Evans. So he is not as cheap as I would have liked. I do think that makes it a little bit more difficult because I mean, like you can find an extra $1,000 and get to Brandon Walter or 800 and get to the chalk Giolito, but I do think at least both of those guys are cheap enough to be on my radar tonight.
If you missed it, the Yankees DFA'd DJ LeMahieu. I guess they have too many guys, right? With Stanton being healthy, both Rice and Grisham are sitting tonight, which I thought was somewhat peculiar, sort of strange. Third base, they can't quite figure out who their third baseman is. I know Jazz has been scuffling there. I don't think he's playing third anymore. Wasn't there an announcement about him no longer playing third?
Yeah, he's going to be second going forward.
Is it Peraza playing third base? Who's playing third for them tonight? Trying to see.
Yeah, Peraza.
Is that who it is? Yeah. They can definitely use picking up a third baseman in the market. Speaking of ladder, I'm so tilted last night. On the show, we talked about the Miz, just the way that Dodgers lineup is so watered down. And I had it literally queued up to ladder it. And you just get distracted. And I forgot. I think somebody called. I can't remember what happened. I did not go back to it. And dude was insane last night. Yeah. He crushed that ladder in 3 innings. I think he got to 10, maybe 11 or so. There was no Will Smith. There was no Teoscar. There, of course, Muncy is hurt as well. But, that happens sometimes. Bad job by me. But we got to get it back today. I saw somebody in chat mention Kumar Rocker. Another one I think is kind of sort of in the pool. There's strikeouts to be had versus the Angels. Andrew Abbott, against the Marlins. I'm not a believer in Andrew Abbott. If you look at the advanced stuff, I don't totally buy it. I think he's been too lucky. Can he beat the Marlins? Sure, but you got to pay for it as well. I'm not really in on it. I'm not saying you shouldn't play it, but I'm not going to. You have any thoughts on anybody else? I've got to get to move on and start talking about some stacks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much in lockstep with you there on Abbott. He's a guy who, I mean, the 2.15 ERA is going to catch a lot of people's eyes, but when you look at some of the underlying numbers, not that they're bad, it's just it's pointing to some regression. I mean, he's got a 2.59 BABIP, a 4.11 xFIP compared to a 3.6 FIP. So he's definitely due for some regression, and especially in a ballpark that he's playing in at home, that small ballpark there in Cincy. So yeah, I agree. He's probably due for some regression soon.
Don usually wants us to talk about Horton. You have a Horton take?
No, not really. He's just a low strikeout guy. I mean, Minnesota has been really bad as of late, but probably not getting there tonight.
That's 16.9% Ks. That's hard to work. If you want to make the argument that the 11.3% swinging strike rate suggests more Ks are coming, I guess you can make that argument. And he's cheap, and you can pick on Minnesota, but I'm probably not getting there. But it's not the worst idea, but it's probably not something I'm going to do. Give me somebody just joined the show. Give me the summary as far as arms. If somebody missed it, give them 30 seconds. How we're attacking pitching tonight.
Yeah, so a couple of clear-cut chalk options tonight with Giolito and Dylan Cease. I don't even think we really talked about Cease too much, but for what it's worth, we talked about the K props earlier with Giolito being at 6.5, Bubic being at 6.5, both around even money. Dylan Cease also at 6.5, but he's at -125, so he has the highest implied strikeout upside tonight based on the prop markets, which certainly isn't the end of the world, but it certainly is a good indication of what he has to offer, even in a matchup that seems like people are sort of thinking is a tough matchup, which it's not great for sure. There's definitely some lack of strikeouts in the lineup and certainly some power. But like I mentioned, Dylan Cease just throwing a ton of pitches, 101 pitches in 4 of his last 5 starts or more. So they're definitely willing to trot him out there for as long as he can go. So those two are the top 2 spend up chalk options. In terms of some other guys in that range, we talked about Bubic and Mackenzie Gore as spend up contrarian options. I think both those guys are fine. I also like Brandon Walter a little bit, especially as a pivot off of Giolito now that Peterson is off the board. And then for some cheaper guys, we're seeing some ownership on Alcantara. I'll probably avoid that. I know he's been sort of getting better, maybe shaking some of that rust off, but I still think the volatility is there, so I'll probably avoid that. The 2 cheap guys that I'm looking at, if I'm going into that range, which is not certain that I am, it's going to be both the pitchers in the Yankees and Seattle game, which is never fun picking on guys in that game when they play in a little league ballpark. But Schlittler and Logan Evans are two cheap guys I have my eye on tonight.
I want to like Sandy. I really do want to like Sandy, especially at that price. But I don't think I'm going there either. I kind of want to see it first, and then I'll be late, I guess.
Yeah.
But I hate the environment, obviously, and he's been shaky. Been better of late. He hasn't been like the worst pitcher in baseball that he was to the start of the season. Jose wants to know today's extremes. We actually have a lot of extremes as far as umpires today. Extreme hitters umpire in Sacramento. So extreme hitters umpire for Mitch Spence, Palante and all his ground balls. Mackenzie Gore's got an extreme hitters umpire, as does Bryce Elder, also in Sacramento. Extreme pitchers umpire for David Festa, Andrew Abbott, Sandy Alcantara, and Cade Horton. Bill Miller's son. Bill Miller taught his son how to call strikes outside. Brennan Miller could be calling the balls and strikes there. I love how he's passing that down to his kid. All right. You see, by the way, the All-Star game, they're gonna have replay. They're gonna have robo umps in the All-Star game.
Oh, really?
Now we're gonna tune in, I guess. I don't know.
You see, they're also having Bat Boys join. They had a league wide, or I guess a countrywide, worldwide, whatever it was, voting on Bat Boys for each of the two leagues. The Tigers Bat Boy is going to the All-Star game. So yeah.
Oh, good for him. I like when they have a dog, and that's more of like a minor league thing. But I love when the dog goes out and gets the bat.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
I mean, it's just spectacular stuff. All right, today's tiers. We got to rank 10 teams and throw them in the tiers. Today's tiers category. It is the great Tom Hanks' birthday. Tom, you want to guess how old Tom Hanks turned today? You want to take a stab at it?
65.
It is a real nice number, some would say.
So 68.
Yeah. Well, no.
I know.
Shout out to Tom Hanks. Yeah,
no sarcasm, Dean.
Wait, you didn't get the memo on this? You haven't heard the bit? It's really running to the ground. We should stop doing that. But yeah, Tom Hanks turned 69 today. So we power ranked his the producer Steve is on top of it as well. Shout out to Steve, mid-season form. So tell me in chat your favorite and least favorite Tom Hanks movie. Yeah, it's kind of tricky to find terrible Tom Hanks movies. There's not a ton. The good ones were tough to rank. And you didn't want to like insult some of the best movies and put them like in 2 or 3 when they're actually legitimately 1. So we ended up settling on Saving Private Ryan as a number 1 tier. I think we debated between Saving Private Ryan and Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's a 1 as well, obviously. So you cannot insult Forrest and throw him in the 2-hole. The 2-hole, I think our debate there was Catch Me If You Can versus A League of Their Own versus Castaway. And we landed on Catch Me If You Can. I forced that thing you do in the 3-hole because I love that movie. I think it's thoroughly underrated. It's a spectacular watch. The Circle is not a spectacular watch. That is disappointing. I would not recommend it. And I've not, to be fair, Kyle, I've not seen Pinocchio. I did watch the trailer. This just came out a couple years ago. Pinocchio, he starred in Pinocchio, and the trailer was bad. The audience and the critics agree on Rotten Tomatoes, 27%. Pinocchio in the 5-hole, leaving out Bachelor Party is a crime. Well, again, Brian, here's how it works. You can only put 5 on the board, and he's got like 70 movies or something like that. So you got to make some tough cuts. Bachelor Party is like 1982 or something like that, way before our time. But that is what we have as far as the board. Joe versus the Volcano probably could have been in the 5-hole. Yes, that is a good call, Derek. Shannon's upset there's no Forrest Gump, no Turner and Hooch. Yeah, well, you can't. Everything can't be on the board, but that is where we are at. All right. Again, we did lose the Mets and Baltimore, so let's start with Seattle and the Yankees. Logan Evans versus Cam Schlittler. Schlittler's full, taking on the Mariners. The Yankees do have a 5 total here against Logan Evans. Kind of a different lineup here for New York. You mentioned no DJ LeMahieu. They threw him away. They've DFA'd him. I guess they're going to try to get rid of him in some capacity. Good luck with that. And there's also no Rice and no Grisham taking on the Mariners. Logan Evans, the other side, you kind of gave the push-pull, the upside-downside potential for him. But New York is one of the few teams with a team total of 5. Where do you want to put the Yankees and the Mariners?
Yeah, Yankees going to go in the Catch Me If You Can tier. I mean, I know I touched on why I like Evans, and I do think that there's a real world where he gives up 4 or 5 runs and still strikes out 5, 6, 7 hitters, which I think is kind of like the Yankees MO, like when they're on. I think even if they are putting up runs, they're going to strike out. So it's a risk reward option there. And then Mariners going to be in that third tier. That thing you do. Again, Schlittler, like we don't know a ton about him, but he does look really good. And I think that maybe not really good. He looks solid, right? He's a solid prospect, guy with a ton of ability to miss bats that can always, not have turnover coming up to the big. So it's always something to wonder about. But I do think if he's able to miss bats here against this power lineup for the Mariners, he can definitely have some strikeout upside. But the Mariners still can certainly pack a punch, so they'll go in that third tier.
All right, Chad is still angry about. There's no disrespect to Forrest Gump. It's a 1-1A situation, and we didn't want to put him in the 2 hole. So
it was a little long,
This is a little long. You weren't a fan.
I mean, I liked it, but like when you had the 1A versus 1B situation, that's why it lost for me. Just a little, wrap it up, a little long.
Fair enough. There was a sequel written and planned, expected to happen for Forrest Gump. Just a weird. And the writer was supposed to turn it in. They were turning in the sequel the day 9/11 happened, and they just threw it out. He said like this. He's like, I can't. This doesn't make sense now. Because a lot of history and just it. So that never happened, but it was supposed to happen. It's supposed to be a thing. There was a written script and everything. But anyways, we shall move on. Marlins. The Marlins are in Cincy. Massive ballpark upgrade for them. Andrew Abbott, we talked about how, great ERA and good for him. He's been lucky this season, 2.14 ERA. This year is still good at 3.98, right? But the BABIP 259, left on base almost 86%. The homer to fly ball 8.5% in that ballpark. He's a fly ball pitcher as well. Certainly the Marlins have won 11 straight on the road, if you believe that's a thing. They've been spectacular on the road. Agustin Ramirez, one of the best catchers in baseball hitting wise. Certainly he's in play. My favorite's Marlin, but you tell me, where do we have the Marlins and the Reds?
Yeah, I mentioned thinking that Abbott probably has some regression due. It's still not a spot where I'm like dying to pick on him. So Marlins will go in the circle category. I think that you can definitely use some of these guys as one-offs. Like you mentioned Ramirez as a catcher. I think that's a strong option there for sure. I wonder if the Marlins know something that we don't about Otto Lopez. Like, why is he batting fourth? The guy has shown not a ton of power, .077 ISO since the start of last year against lefties. But I think that was just a funny anecdote there. But
you see the guys hitting behind him. I think that's the problem. So, who would you hit? I guess maybe Dane Myers. You probably hit in front of him, I suppose. But
yeah, I mean, I know you want to get Ramirez as many bats as possible, so he's probably up there for that reason. But yeah, Myers would be certainly a better. Even Wagman would be a better option in the 4-hole. Yeah, you could argue that pretty much anybody other than maybe Fortes is a better option as a 4-hitter in this lineup.
Okay.
So
yeah, I mean it's pick your poison with some of these guys, but I hear you. I hear you. Otto Lopez is not like your prototypical out of the factory cleanup hitter. That's
100%.
That is a fair point.
Yeah. But for the Reds, so talked about it a little earlier, Alcantara is getting some ownership. It is a good matchup for him. Like this Reds team does strike out quite a bit, which I think will amplify his upside a bit. But still, I think he's going to have some power production issues. The one thing I think is worth noting in favor of Alcantara is like the lefties. There's only 4 lefties in the lineup. Elliot Cruz obviously looks really good tonight, but they'll go in the third tier there for the Reds, mainly just because I think I give them a little boost because of the fact that I think that they're going to be pretty solid leverage stack tonight.
I think we just got the Athletics. Yeah, Wilson was hit by a pitch last night and came out of the game. I know it was negative as far as the MRI, but he's not playing baseball. Muncie's playing shortstop. It's Butler, Rooker, Kurtz, Langoliers, Soderstrom, Muncie, Urshela, Geloff, and then the defensive specialist Clark in the 9-hole. Where did you want to put Cincinnati in again, Kyle?
They'll go in the third tier.
All right. Next game up, it's Colorado and Boston. Senzatella, right-hander, only one lefty in the bullpen for Colorado. Boston with throwing out a slew of lefties, including Yoshida. Yoshida, I believe this is his debut for the season. Yeah, Duran, Anthony, Story, Abreu, Navarez, Yoshida, Gonzalez, Mayer, and Hamilton. It's at least 6 lefties. Speaking of 6, they have a 16 total at home. Only guaranteed 8 innings. Positioned to put an absolute thrashing here on Senzatella. We talked about Giolito being really good of late, and this Colorado lineup, typically bad, is even worse with the absence of two of their better hitters in Mickey Moniak and Hunter Goodman. Rockies, Red Sox, what do you got?
Yeah, I think if you were, so I'm going to put the Red Sox in the top tier, but I will throw a little asterisk up there. If you are looking to get different, if you are, for example, using Giolito, you probably don't want to also play the Red Sox if you're looking to get unique. Like if you're just wanting to build a more optimal lineup, feel free to do that. But if you're looking to get some leverage, you're probably not like dying to stack the Red Sox and play Giolito. So if that's the case, like the one argument that I can make against the Red Sox with Sensatella is he is a lot better against lefties, especially keeping the ball on the ground. 52% ground ball rate against lefties this year compared to 40% against righties. Obviously, that's going to go a long way in terms of power prevention. You got 3 righties in this lineup. Narvaez has been good this year. Story's been kind of hit or miss. And then Romy Gonzalez, surprised he's even playing against a righty. But typically, only really hits lefties well. So that's the one argument against the Red Sox, but they do have the highest team total on the board, so they'll be in the top tier. And then for the Rockies, typically I'm looking to try to stack against popular pitchers when I think they're volatile. Can't do it here, though, against Giolito with the Rockies, so they'll be in the Pinocchio tier.
Just seeing what's going on in the chat. Aaron says, leaving out a baseball movie like A League of Their Own in a baseball show, that's weird. Yeah, cuts have to be made. I love that movie. Who should we stack on the Rockford Peaches? Well, I mean, Marla Hooch. Marla Hooch is like, I'll pay $10K for Marla Hooch. She's spectacular. What a hitter. That's who I would have leading my stack there for the Georgia. It's the Georgia Peaches. The Rockford Peaches. Yeah, the Rockford Peaches. I stand corrected. And apparently John C. Riley's in the booth right now for the Detroit Tiger game. So is he the Detroit guy? I guess he is. I wasn't aware.
I didn't know that either.
Shout out to John C. Riley. Okay, Cubs, Twins, David Festa throwing baseballs against Cade Horton. Man, the Cubs, they put up a stinker yesterday, but, cross that out, start all over again. They still have almost a 5 total here on the road in Minnesota. It's going to be hot there, it appears. I think the wind is blowing in. I want to see if there's anything popping weather edge-wise. Probably not so much here. Is there anything really popping? We do have the fire emoji in Yankee Stadium. 88 is the temp, 70 is the dew. 5-mile-per-hour wind out the left center. And with that, in 112 games, that's a big boy sample. We've seen homers spike at a 25% rate and runs jump up 8% as well. Boston, it's a slightly negative 9.8% hit in homers, 2% hit and runs. Pretty big sample. It's going to be 71, so it's not the perfect temperature there. We are seeing a spike in Kansas City, but a spike in Kansas City is different elsewhere because the number starts out so low. It is going to be hot. 90 is the temp. Winds blowing out to left center. Also going to be hot in St. Louis, 87. But over a massive sample, 178 games, basically neutral results when it comes to homers and runs. Cubs, Twins, what do you got for me?
Yeah, Cubs I think are actually a pretty interesting stack here. I haven't seen their ownership recently, so I'll have to relook at that, but I'm guessing they're getting less ownership than they probably should. I'll put them in the catch me if you can tier. Festa's a pitcher I actually don't mind. I think he's fine. He does have some strikeout upside. It's been down this year compared to last year, but gives up a lot of hard contact and struggles to keep the ball on the ground against lefties. That could be dangerous against a team with the likes of Kyle Tucker, Ian Happ, PCA, Michael Busch, who is one of the hottest hitters in baseball. So I like the Cubs there in that second tier.
I know producer Steve just drew it up on the screen. I guess John C. Riley's connection with Detroit is that he was the catcher in For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner when it was Detroit. Yep. And if I remember correctly, I only saw that movie once. I think he was one of the worst actors trying to be athletic. I think he was a terrible catcher. As far as just really bad job selling it. Sometimes you sort of you can sell Costner, I think, a legit throw a baseball. But if I remember correctly, John C. Reilly was a very bad catcher, but great actor. But you can only do so much, I suppose, if you're not that necessarily athletic. But okay, let's scoot along. It is the Pirates and the Royals. Almost a 5 total for the Royals. Man, that's a big boy total for Kansas City and their putrid offense. It is Chris Bubich at home taking on Bailey Falter. He's a heavy favorite, minus 192 against the Pirates. We talked about how bad that Pirate offense is. Bailey Falter is certainly one of the weaker pitchers, I would say, on this slate. You tell me, Royals, Pirates, where are we throwing them in the tiers?
Yeah, Pirates are going to be in the bottom tier there. No real interest in using this lineup that I don't really like against a pitcher that I do like. And then for the Royals, we're going to put them in the catch me if you can tier. Their offense has been really bad, but so is Bailey Falter. So I do think he's still someone that you can really pick on. He has the highest Sierra on the slate, so uh, he's a guy that you can definitely make a case for picking on, even though it is a pretty weak offense in terms of what we've seen them put up this year. But yeah, I'll put them there.
I have Sensatella slightly higher as far as Sierra. It's not a big deal, but I see 513 on Sensatella, 506 on Falter. Maybe my numbers are wrong. I'm not sure, but no, he's not been good. He's not been good, despite his ERA being good. But like again, he's one of those regression candidates with his 3.69 ERA. Did we not throw Minnesota in there? Did Steve miss it, or did I not ask you about Minnesota? Did I goof?
No, that might have been on me. I think I skipped by them. They will also go in the that thing you do tier. Sorry about that.
All right. Have you seen That Thing You Do? I recommend it if you like some music. It's a lot of fun. It's a good
I
movie.
I have not, but I'll put it on the list.
Put it on the list. I think Tom Hanks actually directed it. He might have wrote it too. It's an hour and a half. It's a quick watch. Okay. It's Washington and St. Louis, 7.5 total. Mackenzie Gore versus Andre Palante. I don't know what Palante's ceiling is, but I love his ground balls. One of the best ground ball pitchers in all of baseball. Sometimes that doesn't work out. We saw Jose Soriano, one of the better ground ball pitchers last night. He got beat up. That happens on occasion. He was cruising until he wasn't. Yeah, Washington and St. Louis. It is going to be hot there.
Yeah, I'm glad that you love that about Palante. That's I think he's been very good at keeping the ball on the ground. That's for sure. Hard contact doesn't really matter too much when you're a guy who has a 65% ground ball rate. So that is worth noting for sure. Also strikes out more lefties. So not a guy that I'm dying to pick on here, but Washington, they have their own upside. I'll put them in the circle tier though, because again, I just think they're better options. And Palante's been pretty good at limiting uh, too much damage. On the other side, for the Cardinals, they have some power, but they're just really bad against lefties. Like they don't really pack too much of a punch. They'll also go in that circle tier. And that game might look like an under bet depending on if we can find a good number there. I'll have to put that on the short list.
Gore has a pretty big reverse split historically, right? Am I not mistaken saying that? I think that's correct, right? I want
Uh,
to see if that's holding up this year. But historically, doesn't he have a big reverse split, Mackenzie
yeah.
Gore?
Well, this year it's been a little different with the strikeouts. He's been striking out a lot of lefties compared to righties, but he's actually been better with power prevention this season than he was last year against lefties. But yeah, over the course of his career, he has been a little bit worse against lefties.
Yeah, this year 36% striking out versus lefties versus 28 for righties, but the power has been worse versus lefties. 176 ISO, which is not horrific, but it is in the red here on Plate IQ. We have Dave Potts, Cheese is Good. We have BeerMakersFan also coming in about 10, 15 minutes or so. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth holding it down as well. How many more games do we have? I think we have, we're making good time. 4 more games to go. You guys are hanging out in chat. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Let me see if there's anything new with weather. I don't think there is because once we lost that Baltimore Mets game, everything else looks pretty clean. That's what I'm seeing. Yellow, green in Cincinnati, yellow, green for the Yankees, and green in Boston. I will still drop this in chat for the people. Okay, 4 more games to go. Next up, it's Cleveland. The Guardians. We talked about earlier how horrific they've been versus lefties on the season. Brandon Walter throws baseballs with his left hand for the Astros. They are favored, minus 158 here. Slate Ciccone on the other side. I was digging this yesterday. Houston, really, really good against lefties in this season. Like they have dramatic splits too. They haven't faced a ton of them, but when they have, they've been pretty good. Not so much against righties. Yeah, Cleveland and Houston, 7.5 total. It's weird to see a 7.5 total with Brandon Walter and Slate Ciccone. You're like not gas cans per se, but not necessarily electric. But also these offenses don't look amazing either. But you tell me, where are we throwing Houston and Cleveland?
Yeah, Cleveland's going to park it in the Pinocchio tier. No shot I'm playing them. I know Walter maybe might have some volatility there, but I just cannot play the current state of this Cleveland team. It's just pretty brutal. I mean, if you wanted to play J-Ram as a one-off, that's fine, but not stacking them. That's for sure. On the other side, I also don't like Houston. I think this is a pretty bad matchup for them. You look at Saccone, he's actually been a guy who has allowed some power this season, but it's all come from the left side. Against righties, he's actually been pretty good. 129 ISO, 284 WOBA. Hard contact is only at 45%, which isn't low by any means, but 64% against lefties. He's going to see two lefties tonight. Three: Caratini, Hummel, and Trammell. So, you're talking about the heart of the order. It's not quite those guys that you're necessarily too worried about. So, that's also a spot. I don't love Houston. Do like them more than Cleveland, though, so they'll go in the circle category.
Just got the Padres: Tatis, Arise, Machado, Sheets, Merrill, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Johnson, and Maldonado. We'll be talking about them soon enough. First up, though, is Texas and the Angels. Kumar Rocker, Kyle Hendricks, 9.5 total. Sort of a sneaky high total here. Neither one of these games, again, no lineups just yet. Corey Seager has been on fire this year. It looks like a great one-off, if nothing else. Probably too cheap and should be your cash game shortstop. I've not run that, but I imagine he's the shortstop that's showing up in cash game optimals. Where do you have Texas and the Angels?
Yeah, Texas finally getting a little healthier. Obviously Seager missed a good chunk of time. Carter was out for a while. I think Langford missed some time. So they're finally getting healthier. I know they've been still really bad this year. But when you look at a lot of their individual stats, they're not a putrid offense by any means. So I actually like Houston a little bit. They'll go Texas a little bit. They'll go into that thing you do tier. Houston's going to be in the circle category. Sorry about that, Steve. And then for the Angels, Rocker has also been pretty good. When you look at the splits, again, a lot of the power that you're getting from this Angels team is going to come from the right side, and Rocker has been pretty good against righties, but I still think he's a guy that's going to profile as a hit or miss option. Probably going to strike out a good amount of hitters, but I still think that he has some ability to give up some power, so we'll put the Angels in that middle tier as well, that thing you do.
I just ran the optimizer on DraftKings. I put no limitations on it, so a player theoretically could be 100% owned. 100% Giolito, 98% Dylan Cease. Again, no limitations here at all.
Yeah.
Not terribly surprising. Duran at 99% for Boston. And then Corey Seager is the most popular shortstop at 65%. So not terribly surprising there. Matt Olson, 83%. We'll talk about the Braves soon enough. Profar we saw jump up to the one hole last night when Acuna was scratched. So there's a chance he can jump up when we see Acuna not play once again. We have no Atlanta lineup just yet. And we're probably not going to get it on this show because that game is 4 hours out. Maybe Crunch Time gets it, but more likely they'll probably try to figure out, workouts, whatever, and maybe we get a late lineup for Atlanta where they just scratch Acuna once again. We shall see, but stay tuned on that. Okay, 2 more games to go. Again, Crunch Time coming in about 5 minutes or so. It's Dylan Cease throwing baseballs against Brandon Pfaadt. The Padres are a minus 155 favorite. We did get an ownership update. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, let's throw the Padres and the Diamondbacks in some tiers. What do you got?
Yeah, Diamondbacks have a pretty good lineup, but not really dying to pick on Dylan Cease. And also, when you look at his power prevention numbers, he's been pretty good at preventing that from righties. Lefties, he's been struggling with a little bit. Corbin Carroll obviously is a threat from the left-hand side. Perdomo's a really good hitter, but not necessarily a power guy. Marte has been obviously really good this year as well. But Arizona's still not a team I'm dying to stack. Or Cease not a team or a pitcher I'm dying to stack against. So I'll put Arizona in the circle tier. I do think they offer a good amount of leverage for what that's worth if you're interested in that, but still not a team I'm going out of my way to stack against. Cease there. Pfaadt, he's been a guy that a lot of his underlying numbers just look like he is going to get rocked at some point. He's not missing bats. He's been really bad against lefties. This obviously isn't like the premier left-handed stack matchup. You have a couple of good guys. Obviously, Arise, not a ton of power, but Sheets, Merrill, Cronenworth, these guys offer some power from the left side. And you have Tatis and Machado who can get it done against anybody. So I actually like this Padres team quite a bit. I think they're going to go overlooked. I'm going to put them in the catch me if you can tier. I know that might be a little bit of an aggressive stance on that team, but again, I think that Pfaadt is just due to get lit up eventually with just how little he misses bats and the power prevention numbers that he lacks. So I'm gonna target the Padres tonight against Pfaadt.
Kyle, I'm not telling you how to build this last game as far as Atlanta and the Athletics, but if I'm just looking at the board, you're kind of building a picture here. You're building a picture if you want to complete that picture. I don't know if that was intentional. I feel like Chop does that purposely sometimes. It's just aesthetically pleasing, but do what you want to do. This is your board. This is your game. The Braves are in Sacramento. We saw the Athletics go off last night versus Atlanta, especially the beginning of the game with a bunch of homers, the inside the Parker. They had an inside the Parker and the outside the Parker from Butler. He went double dong. Rooker, Kurtz, I think Muncy went yard as well. And you mentioned Nick Allen found a way, who might be 5'4". Have you seen Nick Allen? Might be 5'4", like 140 or something like that. He makes Jose Altuve look big. I want to see those two standing next to each other.
5'4" seems mean. There's no.
I'm not trying to be
5'4".
mean. I'm trying to be accurate. I'm not trying to be mean.
He's 5'8".
I will bet you my bank account that he's lower than 5'8".
you think he's taller or shorter than Ozzy Albies?
Oh, do you have a picture of the two of them standing next to each other? Is that's something we want to see? I want to do some investigative journalism here. I would say he's probably about the same, but no, I would say he's listed about the same, but he's probably shorter. Yeah, I think Albies is taller.
They're listed the same. I'm looking at a couple pictures. It looks hard to tell, but they look pretty close tonight. If I had to guess, maybe Allen has like an inch on him.
Really? Oh,
yeah, but it's hard to say. They're like high-fiving and stuff, and not like standing up straight. So it's tough to say for sure. But yeah, so 5'8".
I'm gonna investigate. I'll take the other on 5'8".
Yeah, that's fair. Did you see?
I'm not height shaming, but I just think it's inaccurate. I think it's misleading.
Did you see the Ace Bailey difference in like height listed at Rutgers versus like his combine height?
No,
it was like a 4-inch difference. They had him at like 6'10" on the Rutgers roster, and then like he came in at 6'7.5" at the combine or something like that.
What did that did really affect his? Did he go to Utah? I don't know much about. Is that the guy who went to Utah? Yeah. Is that one of the reasons? I would say it's one of the reasons why he failed. But he was trying to position himself to go to. He was trying to pick his own spot, right? And he didn't really want to go to Utah. And then eventually he's like, I guess I'll play for Utah. He sucked it up,
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Atlanta and the Athletics. No Atlanta lineup just yet. We just discussed that. Acuna. We'll see. Stay tuned. Just be aware if you have Acuna in the lineup. There's a chance he does not crack it with his late scratch last night. Nick Spence, Bryce Elder suggests more homers, more runs are on layaway, 10.5 total as well in the ballpark. And it's going to be hot once again in the 90s out there in Sacramento. Where do you want to throw the Braves and the Athletics?
Yeah, I kind of left this top tier open for this reason. Both teams are going to be in that top tier. I really like the A's tonight because not only do I think Elder is just a pitcher that I don't think is overwhelming by any means, and he obviously allows a lot of power, but I think he matches up really poorly against the A's. So I think it's a great spot for them because again, a lot of these guys that you struggle with when they have the down games for the A's, it's because they're striking out. And Elder's just not a strikeout pitcher. And then on the other side, when Elder is able to get outs consistently, it's because of his ground ball rate. And you have a lot of guys in this team who have really strong, ability to get the ball up in the air. Nick Kurtz, Brent Rooker, Lang Lears, all these guys have elite fly ball or line drive numbers and hard contact rates. So I think it's just a perfect storm for the A's tonight. For the Braves, obviously they would take a hit if Acuna is out of the lineup, but nonetheless, you still have plenty of options. I think getting Profar is getting him back from that suspension is helpful. Obviously, he struggled so far this season, but he was really good last year, and that might have been the steroids. But he also has been pretty good throughout his career. So I think that this is still a team that I'm more than willing to stack, and they're going to also be in the top tier.
He had a career year at like 30, though, right? I don't know how old is he. 29? How old is Profar when he had the career year? And he was at one point in time, he was the biggest prospect in baseball, like 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago for Texas.
Yeah, Texas
didn't quite get there. I don't know what Mitchell's trying to say here. Acuna to the Red Sox, calling it. Why would the Braves trade Acuna? It's like one of the best contracts in baseball. They got him signed for $17 million per year for the next like 4 years or so. Like that's an incredible contract. They're not trading Acuna.
I think the clear explanation here is that Mitchell is a Red Sox fan.
That is the most obvious. Yeah, that definitely checks out. That makes some sense here. Get me some homers on layaway. I will recap the board. If you missed it, if you joined us late, power ranked. It is the 69th birthday today for Tom Hanks. So power ranked some Tom Hanks movies. We had to make some tough calls here. Obviously, had to make some cuts. But tier number 1 is Saving Private Ryan. That's Boston, the Athletics, and Atlanta. Catch Me If You Can is tier number 2. The Yankees, the Cubs, Kansas City, San Diego. Tier 3 is That Thing You Do. Seattle, Cincinnati, Minnesota, Texas, the Angels. The Circle is tier number 4. That's the Marlins, Washington, St. Louis, Houston, Arizona. And all the way at the bottom, did not see it. I saw the trailer. That was enough. The critics hated it. The fans hated it. Pinocchio looks dreadful, almost as dreadful as the offense that Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Colorado is rolling out today. Give me some homers, Kyle. Who's going yard? Who's banging one out? Be as ambitious as you want to be.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stay in that game that we were just touching on with the A's and the Braves. I'm looking at Nick Kurtz. He's been fantastic as of late. Obviously, he hit the grand slam last night, but he is, again, one of those guys I mentioned. He just profiles so well against Elder because of the spots where Elder is good. Nick Kurtz kind of counters that with his ability to get the ball in the air. A little bit more of a chalk home run call. I'm going to Cal Raleigh. I mean, I get it. This guy is probably like the most obvious home run call out there. But when he gets to hit from the left side and now he gets to play in that Little League ballpark with the short porch there in right field, be pretty surprised if he's not hitting one out tonight. So I like Cal Raleigh to go yard. And then you mentioned Corey Seager. I like him as well. I'll throw that as like a mini home run call. I'm gonna go with his teammate though as well, Wyatt Langford, to go yard. So I got 2 Rangers to go yard tonight, Seager and Langford to go along with Kurtz and Cal Raleigh.
I see Seager at plus 240. Don't love that number. By the way, we did see Langford homer last night. I don't know if you caught this. I love when this happens, and I kind of hate it when it happens too, depending on how it affects my DFS teams. But did you see Kevin Newman pitched 3 innings last night for the Angels?
It was 3 innings.
He pitched 3 innings last. The game was over after 6, so screw it. Let's just let Kevin Newman go for 3 innings. And I think he only gave up 3 runs. We didn't get his face fully punched in, but he saved the bullpen at least for the Angels. But we do have crunch time knocking on the door. We got cheese and beer. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Let's do it. Let's bring in crunch time right now. All right, Kevin Roth. We did lose the Mets, and the Mets game is out. Baltimore game is out. Therefore, we're gonna have a clean 90, tonight. As far as 10 games to go, we had 11. Now we're down to 10. Anybody have any hot takes? Roth, do you have a favorite Tom Hanks movie? The chat was very angry with us, but again, you can only put so many movies on the board. Favorite Tom? Was there any slander and anything too high, too low? What should the board have had for Tom Hanks?
I didn't even realize what the board was, so I was
Oh well, never mind.
It was a great list. I mean, there's no correct way to do like the top 3 tiers. That was a great list, though. My first reaction, it reminded me of how disappointed I was in The Circle. When I saw the preview for that, I was like, I am all in, and it just didn't get there.
Yeah, I don't know if enough people saw that. I'm not recommending it, but I put that in the 4.
If you missed it, you're okay to have missed it.
I thought it was going to be good too, and maybe that's part of the reason why I throw it in the 4 hole. And also, there's not a ton of terrible Tom Hanks movies. Dave, you're a music guy. You must like That Thing You Do. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's a fantastic movie. Yeah.
What a fun movie that is. All right, Kyle. Anything else before you step aside out of here and make way for crunch time?
No, I think I'm all set. Good luck, everybody.
All righty, Kevin Roth, crunch time. You have 50 minutes, I think, is the first game. 7:05. It is 7:05. You lucked out. 7:05 tonight, Roth. There's no games in Canada. There's no 7:10 starts. You have Seattle and the Yankees starting 7:05, so you got 50 minutes. Is that correct? Yeah. All right. I went with the UCF. I know a little bit of math. Barely. On occasion, I'll surprise you. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth, it is all yours. Take it away, Kevin Roth.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. 2 of the OGs. Got the beer cheese crew here. Beer in the house. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm baffled by that list that Dean put up, to not have Forrest Gump on the list, to not have the Green Mile on the list. I'll get over it. I'm good. Ready to talk some baseball.
When you look at the list of Tom Hanks movies, how do you make a list with 5?
You can't. Yeah, it's kind of like cheese. It's kind of like the days when there's 28 stacks that we like, and we want to narrow it down to 3. So it's definitely a tough task. But Forrest Gump, 1A Well, I didn't see it on the list. So how could it be 1A?
Yeah, it was 1B.
Eric thinks you should watch
That's how that works.
Pinocchio first. Eric Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
how does
should have
Pinocchio?
been at top.
I did.
Anyway.
I Googled the Circle because I wasn't familiar, and I do now remember seeing the promos. It has a 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, and like I thought it was going to be so great.
A lot of
And
good
the
actors.
preview just had me fired up, and man, did not happen.
Nope. Gonna pass on that one. We got Dave Potts. Cheese is good in the house as well. Cheese, we established earlier. By the way, there is roughly 500,000 people watching, and we request that you hit that thumbs up for us. We keep the show free with your eyeballs and your likes, so please do hit the thumbs up. Cheese, we established earlier today, you live in the part of the country with the greatest diversity of trees in the whole United States. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a pretty big deal, which I just found out
Very-
about.
very
I'm
big.
aware of
Very big.
trees around me, and Kevin sent me this very neatly colored in map of the whole country, and we are like, this is it. This is where you want to be for tree diversity and all diversity, but especially
Congrats,
trees.
Cheese. Congrats.
Thank you.
That's
I
a
do
big
what I
deal,
can.
man.
It was a little surprising. I didn't think of all places like southeastern Alabama would have the greatest diversity in tree species, and allergies. Allergies must be rough there, Cheese. All season there's something.
Oh, that's a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you just kind of get used to it.
Yeah, all right. Anyways, that's what I do when I'm bored. I look up things like that. Now you have a little glimpse into my personal life. Let's talk about the weather. We did get a game postponed, and that's good because they should have really, unless they wanted to play it at like 10:30 tonight. And then without that game, the Baltimore game, I think everything else looks good. New York might see some rain late, but it will be very light, and it will be very late in the game. And Cincinnati's got this low chance of like a spotty shower that probably won't be an issue. So I say thumbs up on everything. Do what you want, play who you want, in whatever format you want. And I'm done. I'm out. So let's talk about maybe the pitching slate. Cheese, you want to lead us off?
I do, yeah. Just in general, like the hitting slate is fantastic, and the pitching slate is just it's all right. Which leads me to say I think we need to just start with Lucas Giolito. Particularly on DraftKings. I think he's going to be wildly chalky in like single entry stuff. I mean, like 70% owned, and he's not that good. Like he's fine, and he's facing the Rockies. And the thing is, he's probably better than Brian Bayo, who got like 40 points last night against the Rockies. So I get it. If ownership doesn't exist, he's the SP1 for the salary on DraftKings for sure. Personally, like there's just this list of players, and it's pretty darn long. If you're not what I consider to be an elite pitcher, I'm not on board with like 50+% ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And I think where we're showing him like 40-ish%, maybe in the large field stuff, that's about right. And I think he's playable there if your offense is a little off the board. I'm underweight on Giolito. I don't feel fantastic about it, but some people just aren't good enough to be as chalky as they're going to be, and that's just how I feel about it. So I do like spending all the way up for Chris Bubich. I think I'm quite torn on Dylan Cease and Mackenzie Gore. Those are the two guys who have like the best case scenario ceilings that could win a tournament. But neither of them have really looked great. Cease doesn't have a good matchup. So I'm playing Bubich ahead of those two. They're both in the pool for sure, but essentially I just want to get up to Bubich. I'm not playing any Andrew Abbott. He's also quite playable, but I'm not going to play all those guys, and he's the one who misses my cut. My direct pivot off of Giolito is Brandon Walter. As bad as the Rockies are, I could definitely argue that Cleveland against lefties is worse than the Rockies against righties. I mean, if you look at the numbers, that's what it says. Like, if you take Jose Ramirez off that team, like, they're definitely worse than the Rockies, and which is pretty wild. And Walter looks like a good pitcher to me. So I think he's a better pitcher than Giolito. I don't know that yet. He hasn't pitched that long. Mm-hmm. And I think the matchup is actually better. So that's where I'm taking my ownership stand. I also have a weird ton of Kumar Rocker. And that's one of those, I'm not really telling you that you should play him. It's kind of like blind hope at this point. He was like so ridiculously good at every level of the minors. And the numbers against righties still have like a lot of promise. Like it's pretty good. And that's most what the Angels are. So I'm good with him. And then I'm also playing Andre Palante on DraftKings because there's a lot of bats to spend up on. And he's just the guy who's fine. Like he'll get a ton of ground balls. He's not going to put up some ceiling game, but I don't think you probably need a ceiling game. Like maybe Cease or Gore or even Giolito gets you like a 30-point DraftKings game, but I doubt it. Like I just don't really think this is the slate you see that kind of game. You could also hope that Sandy Alcantara comes back to life. We've been hoping that for a super long time. And it hasn't happened. I prefer Palante over Alcantara, but it's about the same thing. I know Palante will get the ground balls. I don't know that Sandy will do anything at all. He might. I think he's fine on DraftKings, but I do prefer Palante. That's really it for me. The FanDuel slate, it's the same group of guys. Giolito is more expensive on FanDuel, therefore less overly chalky. And the other thing I want to say, this flipped sometime recently where all of a sudden we're showing Dylan Cease mega chalky on both sites. I think that's like, I feel like an hour ago that wasn't there, and I don't think that's right at all on either side. I do not think Dylan Cease is chalk. Like give like half his ownership to Giolito and some to Bubic, in my opinion. That's it. The group of cheap guys is exactly the same on FanDuel.
Okay. Beer, it does seem like we have a decent amount of options. We might not love all of the options, but we've got them. Playable dudes. So what are you focusing in on?
Yeah, it's one of those days. We've seen much better. We've seen much worse at starting pitcher. So Giolito is also my favorite. I share some of the same concerns with Cheese. The ownership, obviously, everybody knows this is a good matchup. What they saw last night, it's only fueling that. And he's a guy that I've loved to stack against this season. So he is my favorite, but it's that weird hesitation. You know, them plays sometimes you play them, but you have that gut feeling. This is the day the Rockies put up some runs and everybody's on him. So cash games, that's the guy I feel best about. With saying that, again, that's just a gut call. Tournaments, I'm fine getting away from him. And Cheese and I have a lot of the same names. So Brandon Walter is a guy that I'm very intrigued with. We've seen very good starts, very bad starts. Both of his home starts have been very good. It's a limited sample, so you don't put a ton of weight in that. It's more of this matchup with Cleveland, like you mentioned. I mean, we're talking second lowest ISO, second lowest WOBA, ninth highest strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. So not a huge sample, but a guy I think can compete with Giolito, put up similar, potentially better numbers at half the ownership. So that's the guy that I would go to if you're worried about the ownership with Giolito. Giolito probably a little bit safer, but you get that ownership discount with Walter. So I like that call. I like the rocker call as well. Definitely not safe, but a good matchup here with the Angels. I mean, they strike out a ton against righties, second highest in the league. We've already seen him once against the Angels, 8 strikeouts in that game. So he's an intriguing play that's a little bit cheaper. Alcantara, I feel the same, that kind of uneasy feeling. He just hasn't been great. When are we going to see it? It could come tonight. It's not a great matchup, not a great ballpark. So I get the intrigue there. If I'm going cheaper, I'm going to take a shot, and I have on this Cam Schlittler of the Yankees. So don't know much about him. Did have a nice strikeout rate in the minors. Don't know what the leash is going to look like, but I like this matchup with Seattle. Yes, there's some dangerous bats in that lineup for sure, but he's a guy, sometimes that unknown can benefit you, can blow up in your face, but it can also get you a low owned guy that potentially puts up a solid number. And I don't think it's going to take a ton at pitching tonight. I don't know if there's anybody on the board that's putting up 35. There's some good spots here, but it could be a night to get a little bit different. So Walter will be a stand for me. And the Schlittler, I'll take some chances at him at 7K as well.
Let me say, I forgot to mention Schlittler. I'm playing him ahead of Sandy, ahead of Alcantara in that, right at that 7K range.
Okay, good note. Beer, any Bubic?
Yes, he's the high-end guy that I want to go to. You know, the last few starts have not been great, but you have to love this matchup. I think it's a good bounce back spot. So I said Giolito and cash. If you can afford Bubic and still feel good about everything else on either site, that would be probably my preferred route to go. I do like Giolito, but if you can get up there, definitely like the matchup for Bubic with Pittsburgh. And I think he does bounce back here tonight. It's just a bad lineup, a bad team. So he's certainly in play. He would be, if I'm spending, it's Bubic over Cease for sure. I'm staying away from Dylan Cease. I'm not playing any Mackenzie Gore either. So he would be the guy if he had the extra money to jam in there.
Big T says, I refuse to believe Schittler is a real person. And I was looking for the name in the list. I didn't see it. I'm not sure it's real or not.
He's real. And I almost messed up as I had to say it a few times because I knew I'd come up with a...
Yeah, say his name 4 times in a row real fast.
It's gonna end badly. So I guarantee you he's real. The name is tough and he's risky, but I think he's worth a shot tonight.
Okay, very good. Let's flip it and talk about some of the bats and the stacks. Beer, you can lead us off there.
I mean, Athletics, Braves, that's the game you want to go to. I think a lot of people are going to be going that route, but those are my 2 favorite stacks tonight on both sides. Acuna back in the lineup. It's going to help that Braves team. Red Sox, I made a little 6-pack of stacks, so I'll keep it somewhat limited. So Braves, Athletics, Red Sox. I like the Royals tonight. I think that could be a sneakier stack tonight that not a lot of people are on against the lefty. The Yankees make the list for me as well. And number 6, I think the Rangers could also be sneaky. That's a stack that's cheap. You can spend up on some of these pitchers that you want to get. Going with the Rangers, I think they're in a good spot tonight.
Okay, very good. The 6-pack, very on brand there, Beer. Cheese, what are your favorite stacks?
Yeah, so I actually had 6 in my top tier as well. But there's another like 5 that I love. Like there's a lot of offense. It's one of those slates where when I start building lineups, the first glance of the lineup was like, I can't possibly lose because it's going to score so much points. But then I look at all the players not in it, and I think I can't possibly win because I didn't play all those guys. In order, if I can order them, which I kind of can, it's Yankees, Red Sox, A's, Cubs, Rangers, Braves. That's 6. And that's not all of them, but I'll stop at 6 for now.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. We're coming up on the bottom of the hour. We want to go around the horn. We want to answer some of your questions. We want to give you some home run picks as well. Want to make sure you hit the thumbs up, not for me, not for Beer, not for Cheese, but for producer Steve, who has been out for months and months and months with a new baby, and he's back. Congrats, Steve, and welcome back, man. We're happy to have you. Nice. He's on it. You can tell. He's back. Okay, let's do it. Let's start a catcher. I think we already had a little dumper talk. Cheese, what are you doing?
Yeah. You might be surprised to learn he hit a home run last night. You might not. Are you surprised? It's shocking.
Yeah.
So the thing with catcher, obviously I love him, but like I love the mid-tier being from like 35 to 45 on DraftKings. It's fantastic. I tagged Sal Perez as my favorite, but like Austin Wells, Ryan Jeffers, Langoliers, Augustin Ramirez, Drake Baldwin, and Carlos Narvaez. I love every single one of those guys. Like, so I really don't have much Cal Raleigh because I feel like one home run is not definitely not enough. He probably hits 2, of course, because he's Cal Raleigh, but like all those catchers I just love so much that I don't feel like I have to spend up. And your spend ups are limited because there's 6K players you want at every position. You can only get so many.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Beer, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm living in that mid-range as well. I mean, you can always make a case for certain guys. So Ohtani, you want to play him? Sure. Judge. And Raleigh is entering that equation. I mean, you want to play him? That's great. No problem with it. But there is a lot of value at this spot. Drake Baldwin being my favorite. Sliding into that cleanup spot for Atlanta tonight. Great ballpark. Good matchup. So I love him. Narvaez, if you need a little bit of savings, a couple $100 cheaper. I love the Sal Perez call against Falter. So he's another one that's down a little bit in price if you can't get the Drake Baldwin. And then David Fry, super cheap at 2,600. We like Walter, but Fry's a guy that's hit lefties extremely well. So if you need a super cheap punt, you're not on Walter, I think David Fry is worth a look at 2,600.
Take me to first base.
My boy Nick Kurtz, man. I mean, this started out slow and just kept saying buy low, buy low, buy low. Scores 1,000 DraftKings points last night, and the price goes down somehow on him. So I don't know what DraftKings has against Nick Kurtz, but under 5K, I think you keep buying this guy. He is easily my favorite tonight. Love the matchup for him. The other side of the game, I think Matt Olson is in play as well. I like Cody Bellinger tonight against Evans. And then those are the three, really. If you need some value, Josh Bell's probably my favorite, but I'm locking in Kurtz in most of my lineups. If not, it would be Olsen on the other side or some Cody Bellinger.
Okay, very good. Cheese, your thoughts at first base, please.
Yeah, it's not as deep as most other positions.
No.
Like when we get to the outfield, there's like a gazillion plays. There's really not that much at first. So I do think Olsen and Kurtz are going to pick up a ton of ownership, and as they should. Like those are the top two guys. But I don't mind going cheap here because I want to get all the outfielders. I'm playing three weird little cheap guys who all maybe get lucky and hit a home run. Jake Berger, Michael Toglia, and Eric Wagaman.
Okay. Second
Very
base.
exciting stuff.
Wigamama. Second base.
Yeah, as always, it's not great, but at least we have Jazz Chisholm back at second on both sites. So he's the standout. And he seems a little pricey on DraftKings compared to the outfielders and the shortstops and Cal Raleigh. But compared to the rest of his position, he's still such a standout that I'm prioritizing him over Raleigh just because we don't have great mid-tier plays like we do at catcher. I can live with, like in cash, I would probably just play something like Jonathan India or Ozzy Albies. But this tournament stuff, like, I kind of like Jake Cronenworth. And otherwise, it's just random dude in a stack because there's nothing here. So I really am spending up for Jazz, even though just in a vacuum, I don't like him as much as the other $5,500 players. But compared to the position, I very much do.
Yeah. Beer, your thoughts second.
I'm a little more optimistic. I don't mind the Jazz call. I think he is definitely the spend if you want to go there. But I think there's guys at every price point you can look at. Romy Gonzalez at 4,600 is intriguing. Down the lineup a little bit tonight, so that should help lower some of his ownership. I think Matt McClain is in play at 4,400. Albies, it's been an awful year for him, but can't beat that ballpark in a matchup with Mitch Spence. He's only 3,700. Cheese mentioned India. I think he's one of the better values on the slate. And then Polanco, I think is good value here as well. So each level, you want to spend up to Jazz, sure. You want to save a little bit with guys like Romy, McClain, or go under 4K. I think Albies, India, and Polanco all viable tonight.
Okay, good stuff. Third base.
Good spend-up spot here. I can make a case for any of Austin Riley, Jose Ramirez, Manny Machado. Riley is probably my favorite out of that group, and I don't see as much depth at this position, so I'd rather spend up here, save at catcher, save a little bit at second base, even at first. You know, you're not spending $6K on guys like Kurtz and Olsen, so it can open up some money for one of those three guys. So again, Riley, my favorite. If you need to save, I think Michael Garcia's in a good spot against Falter. And I'm going to continue to play Royce Lewis. Just super cheap, and it hasn't been there, but working his way back. We know that power is there. I think he's a tremendous value tonight if you need the savings. But Riley, the guy that I've gone to the most.
Okay, Cheese, third base, please.
So on DraftKings, Royce Lewis is my highest owned by far because I need savings anywhere I can get it. And I think he's got the same power upside. He's got much more downside than the expensive guys, but I just think 28 is a silly price for him. I like Machado, similarly to Ramirez and Riley. Probably a little more, honestly, but it's close between those guys. I'm going to be underweight on Riley. Just the one guy that I know is going to be the chalk. I certainly want him in my Brave stacks, and if you play him as your main guy, I have no problem with it. But I prefer to get up to Machado or Ramirez, or just go down to Lewis.
Yeah, let's go to shortstop, Cheese.
We're kind of back to a classic magical shortstop slate where you can't imagine not playing all these guys. you should probably play 2 of them in a lot of FanDuel lineups, although you might want to play 4 outfielders too. And at some point, you only get so many players. I think Corey Seager is the chalk because he's so much cheaper than Witt and Ellie. Trevor Story will pick up some of his ownership too. But that top group, Witt and Ellie, and then Story and Seager, is just super fantastic. It's really hard to make a case to punt. Like in a stack, sure, play Correa if you've got Twins or something like that. Swanson if you have Cubs, but those top 4 are just better than everybody else. Out of the Witt and Ellie up top, and then Seager and Story, Witt and Seager are my preferred ones, but also probably the more popular ones.
Okay, good stuff. Beer, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, pretty clear cut here. So Witt's my favorite. I also like Ellie, who you're going to get a little bit of discount on. So if you're worried about ownership, you can cut it drastically by flipping from Witt to Ellie. I think Seager's the best play for cash games, even in tournaments. Not going to be 30% owned, so not overly worried about it. Story moving up in the lineup. So those are the clear 4 for me as well. If you need some value, it's probably J.P. Crawford for me. Still pretty cheap price on him, but this is a spot I'm probably spending on. Again, Witt's the cash game guy. If you can't get to him, it's Seager. Ellie's kind of your tournament pivot. Crawford's only if you need the saving. Story kind of in between everybody else.
Yeah. All right. You get to bring us to the outfield. What are you doing?
What an honor. I mean, there's got to be, you can make a case for probably 30 guys here, maybe more. So I have them listed there's a lot of teams that I like almost the whole outfield. So I love the Oakland or the Athletics outfield. I knew I was going to say Oakland once. Boston, I really like Willer Abreu tonight. Has been absolutely on fire of late. The Yankees, I can make a case for all of their outfielders. I mentioned Texas. I like all their guys, Langford, Garcia, Carter. The Braves, even Michael Harris. I'm gonna gut call on Michael Harris tonight. Landed in the 6-pack somehow. He's been terrible. I think he's in play. And Mike Trout, the one I'm not going to give you the whole team, still too cheap on Mike Trout at 4,600. So I'm going to leave some for Cheese, but as you can see, there is a ton of guys that you can roll with tonight.
Yeah, Cheese, some of your faves.
Yeah, it's so crazy. This is kind of what I was talking about. Like you make an amazing lineup, you think I can't lose, but then you look at all the players not in it, and then you feel terrible. I really like Buxton and Seiya Suzuki, and I think they go a little less owned than because like the mid tier with Wilyer Abreu and Jarren Duran, and then Butler and Soderstrom and Rooker. Like I think that's where the ownership goes, because to put like 3 of those guys in your lineup feels fantastic, and then you've got some money left. So, and even like Judge, I'm not sure that his ownership's a big deal because I think people will probably play Acuna over him. I mean, it'll be close, but I prefer Judge. I like the Rangers guys, Adalis and Langford. Stanton on DK is still cheap. I'm getting to Padres here and there. Jackson Merrill and Gavin Sheets. It's hard to love them on this slate, but I still kind of do. If you need to go cheap, I really don't want to. But I've got so Yoshida is back for the Red Sox. He's fine. I'm living that exciting Dane Myers life. That's a real person, Kevin. Dane Myers. Early home run call before we even get there, Dane Myers. Yeah, play 3 outfielders and you're going to score a lot of points. I think that's the lesson here.
Okay. Guess what? Scary Creations in the chat says, who is y'all's home run call for today? So I will let y'all think about that for Scary Creation. In the meantime, I'm going to make sure that they are getting the best deal in the industry. And you know who that's with? It's with us right here at RotoGrinders. MLB DFS annual option, $425. But we just said, how about we give you all the sports for just the price of baseball? And if you do 6 months, then of course that will bring in NFL. Cheese knows it's right around the corner. And you get the price of baseball for every single sport except NASCAR. And if you do 6 months, you save 35% as opposed to month by month by month. So make sure you are taking advantage of that fantastic option with RotoGrinders. Let's do some home run calls. Beer, lead us off.
All right, I got 3, so we'll give you a couple lower ones, and then I got a 10-1 for you.
Ooh.
So Nick Kurtz is my favorite, plus 350. Just been playing the hell out of him, betting the hell out of him, and it's been profitable. So I'm going to continue to go to that well. Willer Abreu at plus 440 is my second home run. And then Masataka Yoshida plus 1,000 making his return. So 10-1. So we'll hope Boston puts a big number on the board. Couple Boston bats there. So Kurtz, Willer Abreu, and Toshiba for a plus 1,000. Yoshida, I should say, plus 1,000.
Okay, I approve. Cheese, you got a few names?
Yeah, there's so many that are very obvious. I'm going to try to be less obvious with them and go Manny Machado up top. And I already mentioned my cheap Dane Myers. And then in the middle, we won't even go middle. We'll just stay cheap with Michael Toglia.
Okay, very good. Guys, it is time for questions. We have more than 20 minutes until lock. We'll hang out until the questions dry up. You can ask about baseball, you can ask about dinner, and you can ask about ice cream. Those are the 3 topics available for discussion. And pull up the old Discord. That's where the cool kids are hanging out. We got some people in the YouTube already firing off those questions. A quick reminder to be sure to smash that like button for us. John says, Beer, Olsen or Kurtz in DK Cash, who do you prefer?
I prefer Kurtz, but both, those are probably my top 2 first basemen. So a great call, but I'm going to go with Kurtz here.
Okay. Cheese, coming to you. D-Rock's got a question for you. Moncada or McMahon?
McMahon.
We'll go to D-Nell. Any love for the Cubbies today? We got any Cubbies love? I feel like we always have a little.
They were in my top 6.
Yeah, Cheese had them on the list for sure. They didn't crack my top 6, but right there, as Dean would say, that they're my 1B.
Okay, yeah. Malayla says, I need a low-owned stack on DK. So can I get both of you? I know you both gave me like 6, and maybe we don't really care about ownership to a certain degree because there are so many stacks. But Cheese, a low-owned stack that you like.
Cubs.
Oh, very nice. Beer, you got a low-owned stack that you like on DK?
I'm going to say Rangers and Royals. I haven't seen the updated, so I'll give you a couple as far as numbers go. But with stacks, I generally don't worry. I don't think outside of Boston anyone's going to be crazy high owned. So Royals and Rangers are the off-the-radar ones for me.
Okay. We'll go to Jorge Mateo, who always hits the thumbs up for us in the YouTube. We appreciate that. He says, Jeffers or Sal Perez in DK Cash? Cheese, I think you tagged Perez, but you like Jeffers.
Yeah, I mean, that's very toss-up-y. I prefer Perez, but it's perfectly reasonable to play either.
Yeah. Achilles wants to know if we're getting the dry 9 tonight. We could see a little bit of rain late in New York, a little bit of rain in Boston. I don't think we see a delay in either spot. But I don't, yeah, close enough. We'll get close enough to it. Riley says, hey, Beer, Acuna Riley or Judge Royce?
I'm going to go Acuna Riley.
Okay. Right back to you, Beer. Joseph just says Schittler, which I don't know. You might just be saying that. But yeah, we were kind of on board with that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's fun. It's fun to say the name. So go ahead, let it out. Schittler, Schlittler, however the hell you
There's an
want to
extra
say it.
L in there. It's Schlitt.
Schlittler, Schlitz, old Milwaukee beer.
I didn't even notice that there was an extra L in there this whole time. I've just been calling him Schittler.
Schlittler.
I doubt he ever got that growing up.
Yeah. One time I went to a Starbucks and this lady, she was like, what's your name? I was like, it's Kevin. And she put 3 L's in my name. I got the cup back and it said Clelvlin, Klevlin. It's like, how did you fit 3 L's in the name Kevin? That was amazing. Anyway, sorry, Schlittler.
Schlittler. Say it 3 times fast. See how it goes.
Schlittler, yeah. Okay, Beer, DK to large field GPP. What do you think of a Marlin stack?
Abbott does not. I don't want to play Abbott. He's also not a guy that generally gets blown up a ton. They're coming off a big game the other night. So, sure, it's a great ballpark for it, but I'm not going out of my way to do it. They're cheap. That's the beauty of it. No one's going to have them, so go for it. Trust your gut.
Yeah.
Collect your
Alex says,
blinders.
"Hey, I'm at a street festival and I missed the whole show." It's okay. It seems a valid excuse.
We can start over for sure.
Yeah. He says, what's the 101 in DK Cash? I don't know what the hell that means. What's the 411? What's the
one of one? I mean, who do you have to have? I don't know.
I don't know. What's the
you play Giolito for sure in DK
Yeah.
Cash. I think you play Bubic and Giolito, and then punt a few hitting spots, which means you don't play the super expensive outfielders. You probably play like Butler and a couple Red Sox. You play Corey Seager for sure, and then you kind of goof around from there.
Okay.
This comment, the chat is on it tonight. Clevin Roth, they're tying in your Kevin and the Schlittler jokes, and then Bean Dude said, "I said trust your gut." He said, "My gut breaks even a lot." Breaking even is better than a lot of people do. So
makes you one of the best of all time if you're
absolutely. You're going to be on the Mount Rushmore. So keep trusting that gut.
You're not wrong. All right, DK Largefield Beer. I've got a lineup that I like, but I can't settle on my last outfielder. 2 are in my stack. I've got 3,900 left, and I'm currently considering Jason Dominguez. Can I get the OG's thoughts on that range in the outfield? So DK 3,900 or less. What do we like down there, Beer?
I'll have to pull up a list here. I mean, I don't mind Dominguez. I like that whole Yankees outfield, so he's certainly in play. Cheese, you got anybody off the top of your head in that price range?
Wyatt Langford.
Yeah, Texas I really like as well. So,
yeah, okay. How about Elder on the cheap tonight? Cheese, Elder on the cheap?
No,
that's risky.
Doing too much. All right. Cheese, right back to you. Alan says Lewis and Duran or Muncy and Anthony, DK single entry.
I prefer Lewis and Duran on that one.
Okay. Alex says 101 is an introduction. Like, when you're taking class, like Lit 101.
Oh, 101. Okay.
Now
I thought he said one of one.
One of one. Yeah. All right. We get it now. Let's see. Cody says, hey, Beer, Ramirez and Yoshida. Was that your boy at the plus 1,000 Yoshida?
That's the plus 1,000.
Ramirez and Yoshida or Perez and Profar?
Even though I have the plus 1,000, I'm going with the second set for DFS purposes.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Nasty says Jose Ramirez. And I had someone else bring up the rest of this lineup is terrible. You guys said he's the only decent hitter on the team. Is he good enough where they're just going to pitch around him?
Yes.
Like, is that a concern?
I don't know if I couldn't. They should for sure.
Yeah.
The thing, Brandon Walter has like 0 walks. He never walks anybody.
Oh.
But if they tell him to pitch around, like he can throw the ball exactly where he wants it. If they tell him to pitch around him, he'll pitch around him or make him swing at a bad pitch. So that's what I would do if I were them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it's a bit of a concern. Your favorite pitcher in a FanDuel tournament. Beer, your favorite pitcher in a FanDuel tournament.
Mine is probably Walker. I still think a lot of people don't know Walter. I don't think a lot of people know who he is. So that's my for sure.
Okay. M says Cheese really cooked with the Cubs yesterday. Did you cook? Is he being sarcastic or did you really cook with the Cubs?
He's trying to be funny. Oh, he is being funny. Oh. It's hysterical.
Oh.
They had a bad night, so they must not be good anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Scott says Duran or Rooker, Beer. Duran or Rooker?
Duran and cash, Rooker and tournaments.
Okay. Cheese, DK tournament, Buich or Gore if I'm paying up?
Buich.
Okay. Cheese, Polanco or India, DK Cash? Thank you, Cleveland. Yeah, you're welcome. Polanco or India, Cheese?
Did you say cash?
It was a cash question, yes.
In cash, I do India. In tournament, I do Polanco.
Okay. Let's see what we got in the Discord. Who has the highest pinch hit risk within the Boston lineup? Do either of you know off the top of your head?
So the Rockies only have one lefty in the bullpen. That doesn't mean they won't pinch hit. Like theoretically, it would be Yoshida first and Wilyer Abreu second. But I would just say they probably just don't see a lefty. And if they do, they should be smart enough to know that's the last one. So I wouldn't really worry about it.
Okay. Beer, I got a couple for you here. Joseph says Abreu, Hap, or Duran and Friedel.
Abreu Hap. I really like Abreu tonight.
And then Scott follows it up with Duran or Rooker, Beer.
I think we just said Duran and cash, Rooker and tournaments.
Oh, okay. Cheese, Jazz or PCA raw points on DK.
Jazz.
Okay. Cheese Chili Chill needs a pitcher under 8.6 in a FanDuel GPP.
That's Walter. He's 85.
Very nice. Okay. Beer, back to you. Achilles says Sal Pal or Sal Perez. Sal Palantonio. That's not a baseball player.
He almost got you though.
Yeah. Look, I will read whatever's on the prompter. That's I will read
Ron
what's on the
Burgundy
prompter.
style.
Yeah. Let's see. Dean pointing out Houston intentionally walked Ramirez last night and walked him twice overall after he homered. So I guess he homered, and then they're like, okay, we no mas, no mas, and then they just started walking him.
I want to give a shout out to this guy on the airplane drinking Kona Big Waves.
Dude.
He said he's drinking some for us. So
That
living
is
the dream. That's
good
dedication
choice.
right there. Tuning in.
We're proud of you.
Yeah,
I have
enjoy wherever you're going.
I have started drinking wine on planes. I don't even like wine, but I want to be drunk on a plane. And if you drink beer, you're just like, I got to get up and pee a bunch because it's significantly more, there's a lot more liquid involved. And you don't want to do that on a plane. It's not fun.
See that's like next level thinking, Roth. So
you're I've leveled up my drinking on planes, and it sounds great, but soon you're going to have to go in a tiny bathroom, and that's not fun for anyone. Beer, your favorite shortstop on FanDuel?
I mean, Witt, if all things that you got the money for it, no problem. If not, Corey Seager, I think makes the most sense price-wise.
Yeah. Cheese, did your preseason study indicate Zach McKinstry would be a 2025 All-Star? Quite unbelievable, Mark says.
Well, I didn't even know that he was, and no, it didn't.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue who's in the All-Star game. I would not have guessed it was Zach McKinstry.
Yes. Cheese, at 4,600, should we just play Trout every night?
I mean, he should be in your pool, but like, there's so many outfielders tonight. Like, he's not like a priority. I mean, short answer is yes, but I mean, if I was making 3 lineups, none of them would have Trout tonight, just because of how many outfielders there are.
Yeah. All right. Beer. Scott says at second, Geloff. How the hell do I say that guy's name? Geloff? Geloff. Thank you.
Pretty sure it's Geloff.
It looks wrong.
But you say it however you like.
Yeah. This
Geloff?
is not a pronunciation. We say what we want to say.
All right. Geloff or Hamilton? Beer, what do you like?
I'm going to go Hamilton.
Okay. Is Lawrence Butler a good play tonight, Beer?
Phenomenal. He matches up extremely well with Elder's pitches. So I really like Butler tonight.
Okay. Cheese, did you see the lightning strike in the minor league game that caused the whole fielding team to jump, thus leading to a balk? Did you see?
Yes. I feel for them. Yeah.
Man.
Is this a Savannah Bananas thing, or is this that really happened?
I think so.
I believe that somebody tweeted me. Like I didn't look into the details. I heard something about that. I couldn't tell you any more than
somebody tagged me in that video because that sounds phenomenal. I'm in on that. Cheese Peter says DK large field tournament. By the way, we got 10 minutes until lock or until the questions dry up. DK large field tournament. Who's your favorite pitcher to pair with Bubic? It's that dude. It's the kind of cheaper guy.
Brandon Walter.
That's it, Walter. Thank you. Let's see. Chris says, "Hey, Beer, FanDuel Cash, Story Anthony or Abreu Yoshida?"
Story Anthony.
Okay. Darnell says, "You had to pee, little boy." What? Yeah, I mean, if I drink a bunch of beer, all right.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't when they drink a bunch of beer? And if you have the skill, please teach me the ways, because I've been drinking beer a long time and I've never mastered that. So
yeah, it's a weird
the
thing.
Little boy part is
Yeah, it's
This
really
chat,
odd.
This chat can be interesting for sure.
Let's see. Candace says, Beer, I got here late. Olsen, Kurtz, or Bush?
Kurtz, Olsen right there with him. Bush a little ways behind.
Okay. Cheese, your favorite pitcher in FanDuel single entry? I feel like we just did this, no?
Walter.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Not
very good.
Schlittler. Don't forget about Schlittler.
Literally. Let's see. We got a couple Discord questions that I was neglecting. Cheese, FanDuel, GPP, Gio or Walter? It's your boy Walter.
Yeah. Like, so that's the one where you say, like, Giolito is definitely the better play, but so much more popular that I would prefer to go to Walter.
Yeah. You remember my old backup weatherman, Walter, David Walter? Do you remember this by chance?
I do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're related, right?
Yes, they're brothers. Yeah. It's the same person. Yeah. It's him.
Better.
Yeah.
DK rare to see a
Cash.
left-handed weatherman.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of those.
DK Cash, Cheese, Kurtz, Rooker, or Butler Olsen? Thank you.
Say that again.
It was Kurtz, Rooker, or Butler Olsen. Thank you.
Oof, that's awesome. I would go Butler Olsen, but those are both just fantastic.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, Beer from Bean, Schlittler, or Gio?
I'm still going Gio here. I would mix in some Schlittler. I wouldn't go overboard with it again. I'm cautiously optimistic and a guy that's low owned, but again, don't.
But all things being equal,
too many Schlittlers, you're going to be going to pee. So just take it easy. A little bit is fine.
All right. Yep, that's me. Says Beer. DK single entry: Walter Anthony or Bubic Yoshida.
Walter Anthony. I figure if I don't ever answer, my plus 1,000 call in DFS, he's going to hit a home run for me. So I'm avoiding.
Yeah, you split it up a little bit of both.
I would go with the first set though.
Okay, Cheese got a couple for you. Let's see. DK Cash in the outfield. Cheese 4,300 below. Hap or Roman Anthony.
Anthony.
Jorge says Elder or Hendricks. I feel like we poo-pooed Elder earlier. Is Hendricks a more viable option? Cheese?
I mean, I can't fathom playing either is the real answer. It's a flat out no, but I would do Elder, but I wouldn't.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. Richard says Cease is now projected to be higher owned on DK than Giolito. Thoughts?
That's what I said at the beginning. That is definitely wrong.
We disagree.
And that number, like something happened to that number. Like it was not like that all day, and like some flip switch. Like I don't think it's even supposed to be there. Like that's Giolito is the chalk.
Yeah. Okay. Bryce says, Beer, you want Witt or Ellie FanDuel GPP?
I'm going to say Ellie. I think you get a nice discount on him. I like Witt a little bit better, but you're splitting hairs at that point. So give me the much lower owned guy.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's not like Alcantara's been good. This is a very attackable matchup.
Yeah. We've answered all the questions. I'll give the people another 30 seconds, maybe get those final questions in. We're less than 5 minutes until lock. Want to make sure you hit us with a thumbs up before you leave or before we leave you. Not sure what's going to be. Derek says maybe Cease got bumped after Peterson got PPD'd.
Well, he definitely did, but Giolito should have gotten bumped more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not even that I don't think Cease can be popular. It's that I think the bulk of Peterson's ownership went to Giolito, not Cease. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Achilles says it's going to be Cease tonight or bipolar Cease. Like we like Cease, right?
That's the thing. You never know which. Like, I mean, he's almost like present day Robbie Ray. Like he's like past Robbie Ray. Like you just don't know which guy's showing up. And Arizona's not quite as unbeatable as they've been at points, but it's still a bad matchup. So I lean towards not really liking Cease, but he absolutely has the ceiling.
Yeah. This is a good question from Kenneth. What does ISO mean? Do we know? Like, I mean, I don't. I mean, I think it means like how hard you hit the
I
ball.
believe it stands for isolated slugging. I actually don't know the literal what the letters actually mean. I could look, but that's
Isolated
I
power.
mean, I don't know. It's isolated power. I'm pretty sure it's a measure of power. So
isolated power with no P in it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It should be
GISP.
ISOP.
That's already a thing. ISOP. I could go for that.
To put it in context of numbers, over 200, decent. When you start seeing over 300, like borderline elite, and some guys get up near 400. So kind of it's almost like batting averages. It's a 200 batting average is horrible. 200 ISO is decent, but as you push up, see a guy in the threes, good sign. Above threes, pretty rare, but that's what you're looking for.
Very good. Okay.
So the only players above 3 are, of course, Raleigh, Judge, Ohtani, the 3 best hitters in the world, and then Corbin Carroll and Suarez. I just looked at it. I wouldn't have known Suarez was up there. But five hitters in the league over 300. So that's your. But Cal, Raleigh, and Judge at 378, lapping the field.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Any more questions? I think we did things pretty good here, boys. Yeah, I think we're ready to clear on out. We answered all the questions. We did it. Okay. For Beer and for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, I'm going to go pee. We appreciate you. We love you.
Hey,
and we
take a Schlittler while you're in there.
Yeah,
Welcome back,
Steve. Welcome back, Steve. You have been crushed.